Hi, David here with Singletrack, and today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at ENVE's new Foundation Series AM30 Wheelset. These are a little different to ENVE's other wheels, and if you look them up online, probably the largest and first difference you'll notice is the price. £1,850 through UK distributor Saddleback makes these significantly cheaper than ENVE's other high-end wheel offerings. With the Foundation range, ENVE had two main goals, and one of them was to make their technology and research and development accessible to people working with lower budgets. The other was to design wheel sets that are more accessible to people in terms of being maintainable at home, as we'll see when we go through all of the features on here. So working from the outside in, let's start with the rim. Carbon fibre, made by ENVE in Utah, according to the label, this one handmade by Sergey S. There is no bringing in cheaper rims and rebadging them for their budget wheel sets. This is purely a product of ENVE's R&D, and it is made by them in America. They've built a couple of unique features into the rim, which we'll go through, but first off, the basics are that it has a 20mm vertical section for compliance and a 30mm inner width, as is pretty much standard nowadays. That seems to be a width that many tyre designers work to, and that means that you can put any modern tyre on this rim and know that it will have the exact right tread profile. Another thing wider rims do is increase the tyre volume, and in turn that reduces your chance of pinch flats, effectively putting more padding between the rim and the trail by increasing that tyre air volume. Another thing ENVE have done to reduce the chance of pinch flats or rim damage is completely straight-sided bead seats. We've seen a few rim manufacturers doing this in the past half decade or so, and instead of using the traditional bead hook design to grip onto your tyre, these completely straight-sided bead seats can transmit forces all the way down into the profile of the rim, where they can be handled by that whole structure, in contrast to the traditional hook shape, which has a weak spot at the side here. It can fold and crack and take all sorts of damage, especially on carbon fibre rims. ENVE have eliminated that with these straight-sided bead seats, but they've done more than that. I'm going to show you by getting a caliper on it. That bead seat is more than 4.5mm wide, and that is well over double the width of the bead seats on any rims I'm running on any of the bikes I'm riding at the moment. This is a feature ENVE have patented, and what it means is that if anything does compress your tyre all the way to the rim, any resulting impact forces on the rim are distributed over a much larger area, in turn massively reducing the chances of damage to the rim. In ENVE's words, a dull knife doesn't cut through things so well. The thinner your bead hook, the more likely it is it's going to slice through that tyre, whereas this is going to squish it and bounce back off. ENVE are so confident in their rim design that they say no inserts are necessary with these wheels. They even claim that under some circumstances, inserts can reduce the strength of a carbon rim. Even so, they say they will honour their warranty even if their customers choose to run inserts with these wheels. There is a 5-year guarantee against any defects in all the parts of the wheel, but on top of that, there is a lifetime rim replacement guarantee. If you smash one of these rims, whether it's riding on the trail or whether you're unfortunate enough for it to happen on a bike rack or even in your garage, if you manage to break one of these rims, within the lifetime of the product, ENVE will replace it free of charge. Another clever feature they've built into these is the spoke holes. So normally a carbon fibre rim would be laid up as a whole big single piece, and then it would be set, and then once it's cured, spoke holes would be drilled in that rim. That, though, shreds some of the fibres and reduces the strength of the rim, so rim designers have to build that in and allow for it. What ENVE have done that is unique to them is that these spoke holes are moulded into the rim, and they're actually put in as part of the initial carbon fibre layout, and when it comes out of the mould, all the spoke holes are there. And what that means is that there are continuous fibres running around every hole in that rim. The lack of shredded fibres means that for a given weight, ENVE are able to make a stronger rim. Final feature I'd like to point out on these rims is that they're also asymmetric. You may be able to see, but in the case of this front wheel, the spoke holes are offset from the center 3mm that way. This is for a very good reason. So you need your wheels to sit centrally on the bike, otherwise it's going to be better at turning one way than the other. But you also need to fit, in the case of this front wheel, a brake disc, and in the case of the back, both a brake disc mount and your cassette. And what that means is that the flanges on a hub are not central. So as you build up to, say, a traditional rim with centrally drilled spoke holes, rather than having a balanced triangle of spoke tensions, you end up with an uneven one. And that's so you can bring that rim over to the center line of the bike and have your bike handle properly. But it does mean having much more tension on the spokes one side of the wheel than the other. By offsetting the spoke holes, it means you can balance those spoke tensions and end up with a much stronger wheel build. So moving into the spokes and nipples, the spokes are traditional J-bend spokes. They're also round rather than any fancy aero spokes. They are SAPIM race double butted, so plenty strong enough. These wheels were sent to me unbuilt, so I could get a good look at every individual component before lacing them up and tensioning them myself. These spoke nipples in particular, I was very pleased to see were part of this wheel build, and that is for a reason you might not see if you buy some of these built and pre-taped by Saddleback. They're not just traditional spoke nipples with flaps down here for a spoke key. They are SAPIM's double square nipples, meaning that they also have a set of square flats on the back, and with the right driver tool you can actually work on and tension the wheel from outside the rim. And there are two reasons I really like that. One is being able to work from here when I'm building a wheel puts me in a much more natural range of motion, and it also puts me in a more consistent one. And what I mean by that is no matter how many beers I drink while building the wheel, working from here I never get mixed up over clockwise or anti-clockwise or end up loosening spokes or tightening them when I mean to do the opposite. Overall, that speeds up the wheel building process and makes it much more fun. One other thing I like about these spoke nipples is that they're brass. Now that's a little heavier than alloy nipples, but in the UK I think this is a good thing because it makes them much more corrosion resistant, and we deal with riding in bad weather all year round sometimes, and especially in winter have to deal with salted roads. These will give your wheels a lot more longevity in those conditions. Looking further into the hubs, these are Industry 9's 1-1 hubs. Now these are Industry 9's budget hubs, but by budget, I mean budget relative to Industry 9's other hubs. There is certainly nothing cheap or low quality about them. They are super nice hubs. Most important of all, the rear hub sounds like this. And Industry 9 have done a few clever and nice things with this hub. First of all, you can mostly do the basic service operations with little to no tools. The end cap just pulls off, as does the free hub, and this seal just gently pries up with a pick. In there you can see there is a 45 tooth ratchet ring, which normally would give 8 degrees of engagement, which is pretty good. And what that means is when you go to pedal, there may be up to 8 degrees of dead stroke before the hub engages and starts to pull on the back wheel. But Industry 9, as you'll see, there are 6 pulls on the back of that free hub. There are actually 2 sets of pulls, one of them offset from the other, meaning only 3 engage at once. And what that means is they have the strength of a 45 tooth drive ring in there, but with the engagement of a 90 tooth one, lowering that engagement angle to 4 degrees, giving you super fast pickup at the pedals. Another feature I really like about this hub is there is a retaining ring on the back of that free hub. And what that means is when you're removing it from the hub, putting it back in, putting it down on your bench, there is no losing pulls or springs, they all stay put. To put it back together, again, goes back together entirely by hand. The end caps are machined to really nice tolerances, so they're not difficult to remove, but they also won't fall off in the back of your car or the car park. And finally that seal, just pushes in by hand, make sure to work all the way around it. It's properly seated, great. In all, these are super nice hubs. They certainly don't feel like budget hubs. So what about the weight? Well, I have some scales here. Let's actually zero them. Get the front wheel on there. And that is 867 grams. And the rear, 1008 grams. These came to me unbuilt, so I could get a good look at each of the individual components before lacing them up. That also meant I had a chance to weigh those components individually. Now bear in mind, these scales only work to a resolution of 1 gram. They may be rounding up or down half a gram, but the rims weighed in at 518 grams each. The valves, 8 grams each. Brass nipples, 31 grams per wheel. Spokes, 190 grams per wheel. The front hub here, 138 grams, and this rear hub, 272 grams. All in, that comes out at a 1.8 kilogram burly all-mountain wheel set. With the J-bend spokes and external nipples, these certainly look more like traditional mountain bike wheels than anything we're used to seeing from ENVE. But the rims give you some cutting edge features in terms of impact resistance, strength and longevity. These are available through UK distributor Saddleback at a price of £1,850. When you buy something with a premium price tag such as this wheel set, you're going to want to know what your support is. And in the case of ENVE, it is that Saddleback are the official distributor for the UK and Germany. They hold stock here in the UK, as well as having their customer service team based here. And on top of that, they have a dedicated wheel building facility and team, all based in the UK. That should give you some reassurance as a customer when you order these, either direct from Saddleback or through your local dealer. As I said, these came to me unbuilt. If you buy some through Saddleback, they will come fully built and checked over by Saddleback's in-house team of wheel builders. This was an in-depth look at ENVE's new Foundation Series AM30 wheelset. Thanks for watching. This is purely a product of ENVE's R&D and cool. It's off the rim. Maybe if I just ignore the flies. The nipples in particular, I was very pleased to see. I can hear voices. Oh, it's people, fine. What was I going to say next? I could just dance. Declan would like that, wouldn't he? That's a very loud helicopter. It's quite low. Please don't blow up the studio. Holy shit, I just caught that with my hand.